All right, today is the day 8. It's short-term goals. And this is really, like I said yesterday, what I'm excited about, because this is when, excuse me, you really start to put traction to everything that we've talked about last week and the week prior. And what we're going to be unpacking, I'm just going to dive right in because we got a lot of content to compress into. I want to keep these under like 10 to 15 minutes. So what we're going to be doing with short-term goals is we're going to be working on SMART goals. Now, that does not mean that there are dumb goals and SMART goals. If you're not familiar with what SMART goals are, it's an acronym. And it's basically specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant, and there's a time associated with it. So SMART, SMART goals. And we're going to dive into each one of these. And really, if you don't have, this is the one day that I would say if you don't have a notepad or pen and paper or something to kind of jot this stuff down with, you'll want to revisit this at a time that you do, because I'm going to be throwing out some questions that you need to take time with and really kind of flush out and answer as you progress through what these are. So again, it's specific. These are all goals that have to meet these criteria, and we're going to dive into them. But specific, it's got to be specific. It has to be measurable in some way, and that's a big one. It has to be achievable. Now, it doesn't mean that it's not challenging, but it has to be achievable in some form or fashion. It has to be relevant. Relevant means connected to the other things that we've already flushed out. And then it has to have a time associated with it. So let's dive into first specific, because that can be generic enough to where you don't necessarily know what that means. So you have to ask yourself these questions, and that is not just what do I want to accomplish, and that is important, but it's only the first step of it. The second is, what do I want to accomplish, and why do I want to accomplish it? So having an understanding of those two is really laying the foundation for all of the other pieces that we're going to be diving into here. So what do I want to accomplish? These are tangible things. You know, everything we've done up until now have been intangible, as in it's been understanding who you are and finding more about your identity and getting more clarity. All that's good, but now it's time to actually do something that you can accomplish. It doesn't have to be huge, but it does have to be something that you can accomplish. And why do you want to accomplish it? You got to answer both of those questions. That's going to fit into the specific category. Now, measurable is how much, as in how much do I want to see happen within that goal, or maybe how many. But what's important with this is to ask yourself, how will you know once it's accomplished? So let me give you an example using this Facebook Live, the 10-day jump start. So specific goal is, what do I want to accomplish? I want to launch a free 10-day mini course on understanding your identity and building momentum in your life. Why is it important to me? Because it fits into my passion and who I am. And quite frankly, I do life consulting. And so I meet with people one-on-one to help them navigate these things. So getting my voice out there is another one of those whys from just a marketing standpoint. It doesn't have to all be from a deep emotional standpoint as well. Measurable, how much? Well, it's going to be 10 days. How many? My personal goal was to get 500 people in the group. I think we're at like 223 or something like that. So I fell short, but I hit 223, which is more than zero had I not set these specific goals. And then how will I know when it's accomplished? Well, it's when I do all 10 days and we have the group and the little sub community that's talking about all these things that we're flushing out. Then I'll know that it's accomplished. So that is, I'm going to give you an example using this Facebook Live in this group as how I did the SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time. Now, achievable, this is one where I think a lot of people get caught up, because it's really easy to say, I want to be a rocket scientist, but I've never gone to college, right? So it's so big and so far out that it's not achievable. And that way I never really take any steps towards it. And so you have to flush out, what is it that's achievable, being, how can I realistically accomplish this goal? Can I realistically accomplish this goal? Given whatever constraints or barriers or limitations you currently have, maybe it's financial, or it is maybe, like for me, I know that it'll never fit in my SMART goals to become a football player. Why? Because some of my limitations are, I'm not built like a football player. I didn't do any football growing up except for 1 year in 6th grade. Like it doesn't fit. There's a disconnect, let alone from the things that I'm passionate about. So it has to be achievable. Whatever it is, you need to have a way to be able to accomplish it. So for me, I have an online marketing background prior to doing life consulting. And so I know how these groups work. I know how to do Facebook Live. I have a sense of how to engage people on live trainings, things like that. So it's very achievable for me to do a 10-day mini course. I have a couple recorded courses and a 9-week intensive. And so doing something like this is actually relatively easy, because these are just little 10-minute segments, 10, 15-minute segments, where my course has, it's 20, 25-minute teachings. It has activation videos. It has PDFs. It's way more robust. So achieving something like this, it fits within my SMART goals, because it's realistic for me to be able to accomplish it, even though, just so that you guys know, I don't know if you're aware or not, but even within the stuff that I'd done, it's recorded. So I haven't done a lot of live interaction. And so that was an area that I wanted to grow in. And even though I could accomplish it, it was something that I was confronting, or that I was wanting to overcome, in the sense of the live interaction with people. And so that's the achievable piece. Is it achievable? So you have specific, measurable, achievable. Now relevant. What is relevant? Relevant means that it is whatever these goals are, these short-term SMART goals, and we're going to get into the time. The time's the last one for the SMART. But whatever these goals are, they have to be relevant to everything else that we've talked about. So that means your passions, your dreams, your strengths, your personalities, or personality. Hopefully you don't have multiple of them. But is the goals that you create need to be relevant to that. Otherwise, what's the point in doing it? Then you're just living reactionary and not actually moving towards that long-term goal that you hopefully have set from yesterday. So it needs to fit into a relevance of everything else that we've talked about. Otherwise, there's really not much point in setting these goals, except for maybe temporarily being able to check something off the box. But in the long run, to move you towards feeling fulfilled and alive in what you do for a living, it's important that you keep it relevant to what you're doing. So again, this group, this Facebook Live, it is relevant to what I do, because I do life consulting. I help people break down and dismantle personal barriers. I help them get clarity. I help them disrupt unhealthy cycles, to find out why childhoods hold them back, to understand how they're uniquely wired. That's what I do for a living and have a passion for. I have a career in. And so doing this group and these 10 days is relevant to what everything else that fits into my criteria. Now we hit the last one, and that is time. So here's the challenge, okay? That is, you need to block out or write out within all of this 90 days, 30 days, and 1 week. And what you're going to do is, next to each one of those, you're going to have, what are the goals? Ultimately, what are the goals that fit specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, that I can do in the next 90 days, that I can do in the next 60 days, and that I can do this week? Now, again, you might be uncomfortable. It might be scary. You might be stepping out in something you've never done before. You may doubt your ability to do it. You may bump into some of your limiting beliefs. But if you don't do today, then all you're going to do is get a better understanding of yourself and then eventually run into hope deferred because you're not taking action. And that's not on God. That's not on your circumstances. That's not on your peers. That's actually on you because you have a free will. So this is the free will day where you have to engage in actually taking proactive steps towards everything else that we've talked about. So the SMART goals are the short-term goals. And you have SMART goals for 90 days. What do you want to see happen in the next 3 months? You have SMART goals in the next 30 days. What do you want to see happen this month? You know, where we're at may not fit, but in the next 30 days, and you can do this at the beginning of each month, but in the next 30 days, where does it fit? And then this week, that's when it really drives home, because what am I going to do this week that is going to move me towards the 60-day and then the 90-day goals that I've written out that fit within all of my other criteria? And then guess what? At the end of the week, you look back and you go, did I accomplish it? Yes or no? Did I hit the threshold of how many or how much that I was going for? Again, this group, I wanted to have 500. I hit 223. I'm really happy about that because I've never done this kind of a setting before. But it was measurable, so I had something to bounce it off of. If I do it again, my goal would be to exceed the one that I have right now. Did I accomplish the goal? Yes or no? If I didn't accomplish the goal, what happened? Like, what got in the way? Was it I had a crazy week where my kids got sick and then my car broke down? Like, it was just a crazy week? Or was it that I wrote it down, it felt good in the moment, but I ultimately was kind of avoiding doing the things that I needed to do? Like, what was it that kept me from accomplishing the goal? And then in the time frame, did I hit the time frame? And you might not hit the time frame. It may be that what you thought you could do in 30 days, it's going to take 60 days. But guess what? If you're doing these things, then you're moving forward towards those things that God has placed inside of you that is uniquely yours and nobody else's. But it's not God's responsibility for those to come true unless you are going to be proactive and partner with those things inside you and actually take tangible steps. So today's the day where if you do the exercise, you're going to put yourself in a position where you can't say you didn't have the ability to move forward anymore. And you can start out with small steps, but small steps move you forward a lot faster than no steps. So I encourage you today to take time to flush out those SMART goals. And if you want to, you could put in the comments, again, public accountability is a great thing. I only launched my course, so I have a 9-week intensive course. You want to know why I have it? There's a few reasons. As far as why it actually happened, one was I had a couple that was ahead of where I was at that really believed in me and helped diffuse the anxiety of doing it all by myself. But the second, because of them, the second one was I publicly announced, hey, I'm launching this course on this date. And then all of a sudden I had public accountability. And then I hit a point where I was still working on it. And then I said, hey, I'm going to do pre-orders. So if you're interested, you can get a discounted rate at this cost. And all of a sudden, I had 10 people buy the course that didn't exist yet. And then, oh, wow, okay, now I really got to get it done. And it was external pressure, yes, but it was also public accountability that kept me moving towards these things that ultimately I wanted to see happen, but I was a little bit afraid of or unsure of or intimidated by, whatever it may be. So if you want to, throw the 90-day, the 30-day, and the 1-week goals into the comments, and I'll be curious to see what those are and how they line up to the last 7 days that we've been talking about. So that's what we've got for today. I look forward to tomorrow, because tomorrow we're actually going to go through a way to remove some of the exterior distractions that you may have that feel really valid but aren't quite as valid as you may think that they are and get in the way of moving you towards these goals.